Welcome to 13 Minutes of News in 13 minutes or less. Okay, guys, want to throw some shout outs to Moves Financial, to Solo, and to Gary'sApps.com. So that's movesfinancial.com, worksolo.com, and Gary'sApps.com. Check them all out. They're all productivity tools and financial tools and safety tools to help you better navigate the gig world. So there you go. Check them out. We're going to jump right in today. So, first thing we got to talk about, okay, not everybody's favorite subject, but we got to talk about this. The FTC is moving ahead with the National Labor Board in redefining independent contractorship. And this is part of what is being done across the nation in different states. And it needs to be really looked upon, because until now, the FTC has never, ever, ever taken a stand in anything independent contractorship. They have left that alone. They have left that space alone. So therefore, they have made that is not their space. That is something they don't define and that they don't interact with. But now they are absolutely 100% on board with redefining the gig space and working with the NLRB. Now, you got to dig deep on this stuff, but really, it kind of goes against what the agency's for. The Federal Trade Commission should be working on bigger things than a defined right to be independent in this country, and they should be letting the NLRB deal with their own problems with this issue and not spending all this time on independent contractorship, which, again, they have never done. And I need that to be known by all of you. Historically, they have never stepped foot in this space. So we all need to look into our own states. Even myself, my state, Colorado, we're looking at a very bad plan on EVs and stuff. We're following California and the California Clean Air Act, who kind of who overshadows the federal government. We talked about this last night on TNC Radio's Driver Nation. On the radio, we talked about why California gets to define or kind of has the hierarchy over the federal government on defining what the EV timeline looks like. So for California, they're shooting for 2026 being only, or 35% of all vehicles sold must be 100% electric, hybrid, or hydrogen. So I need to mention this. We all know this. Just recently, California was in a triple-digit heat wave. We all have been. Even Colorado has been. I mean, lots of places have been. But California was in a heat wave. And their governor actually stepped on TV and in a fleece, in an air-conditioned room, said, hey, everybody, we need to turn the air conditioners off. We cannot have the air conditioners on. We will overload the grid. Okay. So now you want to have 35+% of people in California plugging vehicles into the grid. Do the math. I can't do the math. So I'm asking you to do the math. And if you have a solution or a viewpoint on this, please leave it below in the comments. I would love to read the comments on this. Please tell me what I'm missing here, because the grid can't hold as it is. It's barely holding day by day in California. I mean, it's like putting out fires constantly on the grid. And yet they're now, the new target is to let's plug a bunch of more stuff into it. I mean, yeah, you can get down to where some of this power comes from and some of the means that we have. Like, we have we have wind farms and we have other things that are bringing in energy, but not enough to control the grid. Not even close. And by the year 2026, that's only a few years out. You're going to have 35% of the vehicles have to be electric in California. I mean, I am all for it when it makes sense. But if the infrastructure isn't there, and if we're going to have everybody having home charging stations and all this, that, and the other, and draining off the grid, I don't understand where this comes from. Not only that, but after 2026, it will be an 8% rise on the California totals. So 35 will go to 42, will go to 50, will go to 58, and that all happens all over 3 years. So 35 turns into 58%, almost 60 in 3 years. So by 2029, 60% of the vehicles sold need to be EVs, hybrids, or hydrogen. Now, I think the best shot at this, let's be honest, is hybrids. I think that we kind of skipped over hybrid way too quick. You know, it was like, this is great, let's do this. And then it was like, let's do fully electric. And if you want to hear a teardown on this, go check out the radio show from last night, Driver Nation. You can find it on this channel. And listen to what we talked about with the EV powered batteries, because they're a big, big problem. They're a huge problem, both resource wise and how we get that resource and where that resource comes from. Because one of the elements found in the batteries that we're using comes from one country, and it's the country that we're not really doing much with these days, and can't be said on YouTube. It's the YouTube you can't say this word. So you guys all know who I'm talking about. I'm not dissing on them. I'm just being careful because of YouTube. But one of the elements comes from there. The batteries are melting down. If a Tesla battery melts down completely, you have to replace the battery before you could even sell the car, because it can't even transfer anything. It can't move, it can't do anything. So we're stuck with a real problem of getting ahead of ourselves, I think, by a ton, not by a little, by a ton. And look into your states. And if you're in California, look into it and see what you can do. And by that, I mean, if you think that we're ready to be plugging more sources into the grid, then please bring it to me and come on the program. I'll make a special dedicated episode to anybody who can explain how we're going to overload the California grid any more than we have and be sustainable for any period of time. So it's great to have these dates out there in 3 years. However, it's not like flying cars from Uber. This is the state of California and the federal government actually putting down dates and amounts of cars. And to that, I say, you have no idea what you're doing. So please leave them in the comments. Love to hear it. So what's that bag of white stuff? I love this article from NBC, guys. So Uber Connect is back, and it's been back. But let's reverse the tables to late 2017, early 2018, when Uber Connect was in the Bay Area. And it was found very quickly that Oakland gangs were using Uber Connect to smuggle drugs across the bridge into the North Bay Area and into San Francisco itself. So for like $22, all of the drugs were being muled in by Uber Connect drivers. Well, now the same thing's happening out east. Massachusetts, a driver was already caught with some. He's now dealing with this because, realize people, this is a big point where your independent contractorship plays in to all of this. As an independent contractor, when you are transporting a package for somebody, you are also responsible for that. You are not the United States Postal Service. You are not the UPS. You're not an employee of FedEx. So you are not insured and bonded under those companies. You are on your own. And if hopefully if something did happen to you and you were doing Connect and you happened to be transporting something you didn't know was bad, hopefully you can get the police and the judge and everybody else in the case, if something were to happen, to believe that you were no part of it. Should be kind of easy, but at the same time, there are people who are turning in goods from things on Connect that they find because they're worried about this same thing. So I warn everybody on Connect, okay? That's my personal opinion, is don't do Connect. I mean, some of those examples I was looking at, 1 a.m. in Phoenix, hotel to hotel. And if you read about that story, like what was in that bag and how it was like duct taped up, and just be careful on Connect, guys. That's all I'm going to tell you. Again, I tell you this because we're not employees of Uber. So you're not going to be able to point a finger at Uber and, well, it was Uber. Nobody cares. Okay? They're going to be looking for, Uber doesn't have your back. They're going to turn their back on, they're going to treat this like a minor being in your car if you're doing rideshare. And we all know that if you're transporting a minor in the vehicle, they will quickly go, okay, well, we have no part of that. And then your insurance quickly says, well, we have no part of that because you are not allowed to do that. So you are found by yourself having to deal with this in court. And if you can't, so be it. Could be the rest of your life. You owe millions of dollars to somebody just for taking a child in a ride. So I encounter a bunch of people who don't know this. For those of you that don't, now you do. It's in the TOS, but you cannot transport minors without an adult. Even if the adult comes out of a house and says, it's okay, they're 17, you can take them. You cannot. You cannot. Minors are minors, under 18 years old, no ride. Period. So Lyft is, let's talk about Lyft here for a second. Lyft is freezing. It is hiring across the board for the rest of the year. You guys, Lyft kind of seems to be going down in a barrel of flames. They are throwing out their autonomous left and right, though, here, and which kind of makes me even think more they're going down in a ball of flames. So they've had they've paired up with Argo AI, and they're trying to work on a sale with Ford to get out from under all their problems. It seems like the Lyft model is we're losing tons of money, we're hemorrhaging money, we can't hire any more people. They seem to be positioning very perfectly for a complete sellout. And actually that might be the best thing, or it would be the best thing, because there's not a space for them left. So I think what they're really hoping on is that Argo and their platform can show Ford, hey, we're worth acquiring. But for those of you that live in Austin, Texas, you now have the same perk or punishment as very other few select cities, where now when you order a Lyft in Austin, Texas, you will in some cases be offered, do you want this ride to be autonomous? Now, the autonomous ride in Austin involves 2 engineers in the front seat. So there will be engineers. Unlike other cities like Vegas, where it's just a driver in the front, this is 2 engineers. So you are a little bit safer, I guess. It's up to you if you want to take it or not. I'll still prefer the human driver ride myself, but you guys can try it out if you want, if you're in Austin. But for now, guys, that's 13 minutes of news in just under 13 minutes. Peace.